What's up, everybody? Welcome to the first episode of the Lost Boy Skates podcast. I'm your host, Lost Boy Skates. You can find me on Instagram at Lost Boy Skates 88 or on the podcast Instagram at Lost Boy Skates Podcast. We also have a YouTube channel where I'll be posting episodes of the podcast as well, simply named Lost Boy Skates Podcast. Today, I'm going to tell you about my history with skateboarding, how I got started skating, why I stopped skating, and how I got restarted with skating. Um, I'm going to tell some fun stories and hopefully people will laugh along, share some of their stories, give me some positive feedback, and ask questions. So let's just jump right into it. I was 13 or 14 when I first started skating. I used to roll around on one of my brother's boards. It was an Acme brand board. I didn't get my first pro model board until I was about 14. And again, that was like another hand me down. It was a Birdhouse Willie Santos board. And if you actually look over my left shoulder on the video, you can actually see a copy of this board that my wife got me for a birthday or Christmas a few years back from Willie's workshop. He has been making duplicates of his old graphics, and I'm so stoked to be able to have a copy of my first board. There's just so much history that goes in with your first board. First board I ever board slid on. First board I ever 50-50'd on. First board I did a kickflip on. So there's just so much that goes into that board and so many memories that I just really am so thankful and grateful to have a copy of that board. So, anyways, when I was about 15 years old, was really when I started really picking up the pace. We ended up getting a square rail. My buddy Bobby had a round rail. He also had an X Factor ramp. We built a mani pad. We had a 3-foot quarter pipe connected to a tabletop that sat about 3 or 4 inches higher than the quarter pipe, and you'd line the quarter pipe up with it so you kind of wall ride up on top of the tabletop. Let me tell you, this tabletop was so unsteady. I am so surprised that none of us ever got hurt. We used to do tricks off of this thing. We used to drop in from it. So I'm just amazed none of us ever got hurt. I'm amazed the thing held up and never fell apart. It was just not well built at all. Uh, Around 16, our small town, Delaware City, built its own little mini skate park. It was so small that if you got more than 5 people there, it was packed. Uh, so this little skate park had its own little square rail, not attached to any of the ramps. There was also like a little ledge fun box. Stood about maybe I want to say maybe a foot high, maybe a little bit higher. And then on top of that, you had an A frame that was connected to a down ledge and a hip on the other side of the down ledge. It was really hard to get speed, so I was glad when they eventually let us build a 4 to 5 foot quarter pipe, not attached to it, so we could drop in and get enough speed, and you wouldn't have to run up to it and throw your board down last minute and hope that you were ninja enough to do the trick, right? Uh, so anyways, like, by the time I was 17, I got sponsored by a shop in Middletown, Delaware called Ollywood. Ollywood was a shop that opened up, and it was only open for about 9 to 12 months. There really was a big skate scene in Middletown, but a lot of people just really weren't committed to going to this shop. It was kind of on a side street, so you didn't really know it was there. There was no real advertising for it. So how I got sponsored was not because I sent in a video part. At the time, if you were filming skate videos, you were using your parents' handheld camera that they used to film Christmas, right? So at that point, we're just doing tricks for fun. And so I was doing a backside kickflip off of this front porch. We call it the Bumblebee Gap. And you can still see that gap now. If you ride down Main Street, Middletown, you'll actually see a front porch where it says Bumblebee on the side of it. That is literally the same exact gap that we used to do. So you went off this front porch over the sidewalk into the side street. And so I did a backside kickflip, and a couple of the kids around there had actually witnessed it. So they had come running and they were like, "Oh my God, dude, that was so great. Come to our shop." So I go to the shop, I meet their mom, and she offers me sponsorship. And of course I accept because I'm like, cool, free stuff, right? Who wouldn't want free stuff? So every so often I get like a free shirt, free set of wheels, a free deck. Um, I really didn't care for the brands they carried. They mostly carried like Baker and Bootleg. And again, not really brands that I was a big fan of. I just don't use them. I think the teams are great. I think their products are great. I just don't use them, right? Anyway, so how I found out the shop had actually closed down was because one day I'm going to the shop. I'm looking to get some type of merch. And when we get there, the shop's all black, the door's locked, the sign is gone from the window, and I had just been there the month prior, right, to buy a new board, and it was crazy that they were shut down that fast. I didn't even know they were closing, and at the time, there's no real social media. Like, you had MySpace, but, like, brands didn't really use MySpace like that. It was mostly, like, for you connecting with your friends and whatnot. Anyways, at that point too, a lot of my friends kinda stopped skating. A lot of them went on to do other things, other sports, girls, working, so there wasn't a lot of time for skating. Meanwhile, I didn't really know what I wanted to do with my life. I was working off and on, part-time, really wasn't making a whole lot of money, but I was still skating, and had hopes of actually getting sponsored again, because at this point, I understood what it was like to be sponsored. I understood, like, how much of a commitment that was to a brand. So I kept skating. I spent most of the summer in Elkton, Maryland with my sister, helping take care of her kids, working part time, like I said. And then at some point, I met the kids in the neighborhood. How I met them was one day I'm skating around the neighborhood and I see this square rail out. And I'm like, oh my God, I'm going to go skate this because I haven't skated anything other than flat ground in quite a while. So I hit the rail, I do a board slide shove out, I do my front feeble, my back feeble. I'm lucky if I can get either one of those now. Board slide shove out is still one of my favorite tricks to do, and it still comes like super easy. So, anyways, like these kids come running out of this house. There's like 5 to 10 kids, and I'm like, oh my God, they're gonna kick my ass. They want to jump me. And they're just hollering. And mind you, my adrenaline's pumping. I don't hear anything that they're saying. I just know that they're hollering at me. So I book it and I get back to my sister's house. I hide in the house. I wasn't big on fighting, so it wasn't really something that I really wanted to do. I just wanted to skate. The next morning, I got up around 6 or 7, and I go out to this cul-de-sac where there's like a mani pad, a ledge, maybe a quarter pipe, and I think a kicker. And I'm skating around there for a little bit, and this crew of kids rolls up on me, and I'm like, "Oh shit!" Like they want to fight me, and I don't know what to do. But anyway, so that's really not what happened though. These kids start introducing themselves, they start complimenting me and everything, and we all start skating together. And over the next year, I really got to know some of these guys, and they were awesome. Like, they always were looking to learn new tricks. If it wasn't for them, I would have never learned how to switch kickflip, nollie kickflip, nollie big spin. Just learned so much from them, just like they learned so much from me. And one of those guys I'm still friends with today. His name's Kevin White. Such a great dude, really good at skating, deserves so much more than what he gets from skateboarding. And you guys should really check him out. He's at Almighty K White on Instagram. Check him out. Check out his skating. He is phenomenal. This dude is just good. Um, anyways, so at 19, I kind of stopped skating. At that point, I'm working more full time. I started college. I had a lot of lingering issues with injuries that I didn't let heal up properly. I had gone through multiple sprained ankles, a fractured ankle, sprained wrist. I had broken my leg at this point. What else had I done? I had broken toes. I had actually broken my left ring finger at least 3 or 4 times. I had stitches in my knees, hand, my head. I had hit my head at least once where I had a concussion and actually split it open, and I had to get a couple stitches. I dislocated a shoulder. My worst injury, though, didn't happen until about 2022, where I tore my ACL and my MCL and both my meniscus. I had to get surgery. I'm back skating now. I actually just put out a video, 35 for 35, all individual tricks. They are on the podcast YouTube as well. So after that, I kind of didn't start skating again until I was about 21. And I skated for a couple months, stopped again, started skating again around 23, 24, just to mess around, see if I still had it. But I didn't have that passion. I really just didn't have the motivation to keep skating. I also was more focused on music and things like that. I had a couple of bands that had done pretty well. We played shows, we toured. There was just different things going on in my life at that point. So, anyways, uh, when I was 27, I went through this almost like midlife crisis. I guess you could call it a quarter life crisis, if you will. Uh, and I really didn't have much going on. I had my family. I had work, but outside of that, I didn't have much else. So one day I'm down in the basement. I think I was cleaning something up and I ended up finding this deck. It was a New York board, fresh in the plastic, hadn't been opened, fresh piece of grip, like right next to it. Go in my toolbox. I still got my trucks and my wheels and hardware. So I put all of this together and I start rolling around on it, just rolling around the neighborhood, not really having any intention of doing any tricks. I don't know what made me want to try like a heel flip at the time or a kick flip. And so I start just doing these tricks and I start landing them. And I'm like, oh my God, I still got it. I can still do some of these tricks. And it came to me that I had never really filmed a video part, and I really wanted to film a video part at this point. I was really motivated to do that. My wife was supportive. She helped film some of it. My kids helped film some of it. So I put together this like little 2 minute, 30-second video part of me doing, 2 and 3 trick lines, a couple of single tricks that were a little bit harder. Uh, and I put it out on YouTube. Unfortunately, that YouTube, I actually don't know what happened to it. One day I went to go sign into it and it was gone. So I don't have any of those clips anymore. Uh, I've just kind of continued to film over time and post stuff on Instagram. So, anyways, here I am, 35 years old. When I was 34, I had destroyed my knee and had gone through surgery, and I was pretty sure I was done skating. I didn't think I was ever going to come back from it. Luckily, I was able to start skating again, and now like I'm even better than I was before then. And I think it's just that motivation, that passion, that love for skating. I love to skate. It is one of my favorite things to do. It's my therapy. It's what gets me through the week when I'm having a tough week. So some of my favorite tricks are the heel flip. I think everybody heard me earlier talk about I started out kick flipping first. When I started skating, I saw everybody doing kick flips and I wanted to learn kick flips and I did pretty quickly. But my friend Bobby, him and I were really competitive. We played skate every day. And he always got me with heel flips and fakey heel flips. It would make me so frustrated, so angry. I am a very competitive person. When I compete, I want to win. Doesn't matter how good everybody else is. I still want to do my best and I still want to have a chance at maybe winning. So, anyways, I finally learned them. And it's crazy because I have so much pop with them and so much more control with them than I do kickflips. I kind of just stopped kickflipping for a long time. Every so often, I'll pull a kickflip out or a fakey kickflip out, but it's very rare. I can still switch kickflip and still nollie kickflip. They're not what they used to be because I'm still a little bit slower on the pop for them because the knee that got injured is the knee that pops for them. Uh, Another trick I really like doing is the frontside Smith grind on ledges. I don't like doing them on rails. I never like doing them on rails, and I hate circle rails. So I learned them on ledges, and it was kind of by accident that I learned them on ledges. I was actually trying to do a 5-0 down a down ledge when I was probably about 18, 19 years old. And for whatever reason, I couldn't get the nose up. I don't know what it was, but I soon realized if I kept the same pressure on the back truck like you do for a 5-0, I'd start sliding. So it wasn't super dipped. My first one was probably just below what would be considered a very low 5-0. And I would actually had gotten it on film. And I was super excited. After that, I would get them perfected to a point where I was doing like a mid-range Smith. I would be able to do things out of it, into it. And nowadays, I'm lucky if I land one, right? Still one of my favorite tricks. It's one of those tricks that when I finally do land it, I feel so accomplished. I feel like I am on top of the world. Like I'm the best skater in the world when I land that trick. Obviously, I'm not the best skater in the world, but it's just that feeling that you get from it. Uh, so the next thing I want to tell you about is the most influential skate video that ever touched me. So the first skate video I ever saw was actually in 2006. It was Globe Opinion. It was produced in 2001. It has skaters Gershon Mosley, Jamie Klein, Mike Peterson, Rodney Mullen, Chet Thomas. All these guys are just killers. The whole video is stacked. Every person in that video just looks like they're having so much fun. And that kind of inspired me to really keep skating. I bought the video from a skate shop called ECX. They're located in Newport, Delaware. They're now a scooter shop, but they did so many great things with trying to help maintain Newport Skate Park, and I'm sure they still do nowadays. Unfortunately, like I don't have any interaction with them because they're a scooter shop. The most influential skateboarder on my life was Bam Margera. Most people know him from Jackass, CKY, his drug and alcohol use, but I knew him from iconic skate parts like Audio, One Step Beyond, his skate part in Toy Machines, what is it, Jump Off a Building, and Trans World Feedback. Those are some of the most iconic skate parts you'll ever see. I guarantee you'll be in love with his skating. His Elementality video part was pretty good, but it just didn't have the same tenacity, and I think it's because he was so wrapped up in all the other stuff going on in his life at that time that he just didn't really put together the best skate video part that I think he could have done. So, anyways, I ended up meeting Bam Margera at some point when I was about 18, 19 years old. I was at an indoor skate park in Pennsylvania. I don't remember what it's called, and I don't remember if it's in it was in Westchester or Chester. It's no longer open. But anyways, there's this pyramid and it had a nice gnarly hip on it. And I love skating hips. I still skate hips nowadays. I don't have as many flip tricks on it, but I do try to skate them as often as I can. So I'm trying this frontside heel flip, and I just couldn't get it. I'm getting my feet on the bolts, but I'm stepping off or it's sliding out. Just stupid little things, right? And I'm getting so frustrated. At some point, he ends up talking to me and saying, like, "Stop being a bitch, land it. Like, land the trick. Your feet are on it." You know? So of course, with that encouragement and like him being like a big part of why I kept skating, I end up landing the trick bolt next try, and he comes over, he congratulates me, and then he just breaks my board, right? But what was really cool is as I'm leaving, I don't know if it's like the skate park manager or somebody that just worked there, but they come over and hand me this board, and it was a band board. It wasn't signed, but I was like super stoked to have a new board because, like, mind you, here I am kind of thinking he's a jerk because he broke my board. But in reality, he was just being supportive. He gave me a fresh deck. Like, I was super stoked about it. Uh, the next story I want to tell you about is happened in 2022. It has nothing to do with skateboarding, but it was the time I met Mike Vallely. Uh, he is currently the lead singer of Black Flag. Most people know Black Flag as the like old school punk band, and they are still just ripping and touring. Like, I love that band so much, and he's just a very good vocalist for them. I ended up going to a show in PA, and they were playing with the Dickies and another band called TSOL. If you like punk rock, go check out TSOL. They have been around since the dark ages, right? Anyways, if you don't know who Mike Vallely is from Black Flag, he is also a professional skateboarder. He has some iconic parts for POW and Peralta. He also has a couple parts for Element. Uh, he does a lot of no complies, bonelesses, not your atypical flip tricks, right? He can do them. I've seen him do them in some skate parts, but most people don't know him for that. I like his style. It's different. And I think he gets a lot of shit for it when he doesn't really deserve it. And he's also been around since, like I said, the 80s, maybe even before then. But anyway, so I see him in the crowd. He's watching the bands play, and I'm super stoked to see Mike V. Like, somebody that I never thought would be easily accessible, right? So I kind of make my way over to him and I try to spark up a conversation. Super awkward, but he entertained it. And I said, dude, like, you're amazing. Like, I love the fact that you play punk rock. I also love the fact that your skating is just amazing. Like, dude, you're just awesome. He's super humble, thanks me, asks me if I wanna get a picture, I get a picture, and then he excuses himself to go, like, I guess, get ready for the show, like, because they were getting ready to go on. Honestly, I think he was just trying to get away from me because, dude, I was super awkward. Uh, Totally fangirling out, didn't know what to say, my brain was complete mush, right? So, I wanna end this video by talking about some of the skate brands that have had a big impact on me. And I'm not talking about professional skate brands. I'm talking about local skate shops, local brands, just things that have really had a good impact on me over the past couple years. So the first one I want to mention, obviously, is Kinetic Skate Shop in Wilmington. They helped advocate to get 7th Street Skate Spot built. They continuously take donations and they still put money into that park, and they're constantly updating that park. That park went from being, kind of out in the boonies, not a whole lot there, to being a massive skate park. I love it. The atmosphere that's always there is always positive. There's really never any drama there. And the skate shop always has a positive vibe when I go into it. The next skate shop I want to tell you about is Skate Switch and Snow. They're based in Newark, Delaware. Another awesome shop that I had a lot of really positive experiences with. They used to be in this house on this side street, and it looked more like a shack than a house. And they would put on skate demos and contests right out front on like Newark Night and different celebrations in Newark, Delaware. They're now located along Main Street, and it's a really big shop. Again, you go in there, it's really positive vibe. I actually got this signed Carrie Getz board that's over my right shoulder from that shop. I was supposed to be getting a new deck so that I could skate, and instead I bought this deck and put it on my board wall. Mind you, when I get back to the car, my wife's like, "I thought you were getting a new deck to skate." And I was like, "Yeah, I'm gonna put this one on my board wall." And she just rolls her eyes at me. God, I love that woman. Um, so anyways, the next shop I want to talk about is First State Skate Supply. This is probably the one that's had the biggest impact on me more recently, just because James has had nothing but positive things to say to me, encouragement to get me back skating after I had an injury. They also do a lot for the skate community, not to mention they're a mobile skate shop. They bring the product to you, right? They travel around Sussex County mostly. Occasionally, they'll come up to Kent County, Delaware, Smyrna Skate Park when there's events. And, he sells merch and he's just so supportive of the skate community in both counties. Uh, Skate Epworth is the local skate park in Rehoboth, and he has a donation bin for them. He's helped maintain that skate park over the past couple years. I believe he's also was on the board to help get the skate park updated, right? So amazing skate park, amazing brand. I just love First State Skate Supply. They also put on contests throughout the summer, and it's just always a fun time. The next brand I really want to touch on is RIP MVNM Clothing. Great clothing brand. I still have the shirts. I'm still going to wear the shirts. You'll see me wearing them in the 35 for 35. I really miss the brand. Hopefully one day I can get Tom on the show and we can kind of talk about why the brand had to end. Uh, the next thing I want to talk about is Winter Wagon 24. It happens February 4th, 2024 in Quarryville, Maryland, or I'm sorry, Quarryville, Pennsylvania. It's hosted by Skate Wagon, great brand out of PA. I've been to the last couple Winter Wagons, and every time it's a great time. I get to compete in the best trick contest, and this year they finally have a division for me, the classics, 35 and older. I actually have a chance to really compete with people and feel like I might have a chance at winning something, right? Again, that competitiveness is coming out of me. I've skated the past couple years in intermediate, and there's just some straight killers in that division. They always put on a fun time. They also do a punk rock flea market during that time. They have artists play, which include punk rock, hardcore, even rap sometimes. Just a really fun time. Check it out. Find them on Instagram. The final one that I want to hit on, actually, there's two more I want to hit on. Central Skate Supply. Central Skate Supply is in Ridgely, Maryland. Uh, I once was in Ridgely skating their skate park there. It's a pretty decent skate park. It's a lot of fun. It's different than other skate parks. Um, and there's like a curb rail there. And I was learning nollie shove, either lip slide or board slide, whatever you want to call it. And I ended up breaking my board. I'm a 200-pound, 5'5" small guy. And occasionally I break boards, right? Pretty easy because of my weight. I go to the shop and he's closing up shop, and he reopens the shop just for me so I can buy a board. He grips it. He sets my board up. I mean, it felt like it took maybe a minute and a half for him to set up the board. I go and I learn the trick at Ridgely with time to spare, and I was so grateful of that. Central Skate Supply also puts on skate jams. They have a mini ramp inside their skate, like inside the shop, and sometimes they'll put jams on the mini ramp. They also do jams over at Ridgely Skate Park. Check them out. Great people. Just I love the fact that they were so willing to help me out in a pinch. The final place I want to talk about is the Yard at Ambler. It's up in Ambler, PA. It's an indoor skate park. It's where I go during the winter instead of hibernating. I go and I skate, and I always end up learning so many new tricks there. It's always a lot of fun. The atmosphere is great. It's totally worth the $50 membership fee. They also sometimes do daily passes. I think they're like $10, but you have to go over to the shop, which is at the front of the complex now, and they share it with another brand called Off Kilter. Um, Let me tell you, I really love it there. The atmosphere is always good. They put together some really good hardcore shows, and I really hope that you guys take the time to check these brands out. I appreciate anybody that's checking out the podcast today. Uh, I hope to get the next episode done out in the next week to 2 weeks after this one's out. Just again, thank you so much. Please share your thoughts and comments. Every bit of support is appreciated. All right, guys.